You're gonna mess up a lot, you're gonna lose a lot of money, but it's still gonna be a lot of fun. Hi, my name is Caleb and I'm a professional photographer based in Bend, Oregon. I specialize in boudoir and I have been recently getting into film a lot. I spent the last year doing so much film and I've been posting about it online, and I got a question from one of my followers that says, what advice would you give to someone who knows photography but has never shot film and wants to give it a try? Any tips, tricks, or common pitfalls to avoid? So let's talk about it. Here are 5 things that you should know before you shoot your first rolls of film. Number 1, in digital photography, we underexpose a lot, because we can pull back and recover the shadows pretty easily, but we can't recover the highlights. It is the exact opposite in film. With film, you cannot recover the shadows. If you underexpose it, that information's gone, you can't get it back. However, if you overexpose it, you can get a lot more information in it. In fact, I've had rolls of film where I've overexposed by several stops and it comes out pretty great. And a lot of times people will tell you, overexpose your film by at least 1 stop, just in general. So don't worry about overexposing your film, because odds are you won't overexpose it. But if you underexpose it, you will lose that information forever and it'll look muddy and grainy and yucky. And that can be a really hard habit to break out of, underexposing, because I know that I like expose for the clouds or expose for the light source or whatever in digital photography. But in film, you have to expose for the shadows and overexpose them to ensure that you get all of that information. Number 2, try a whole bunch of different films. But also know that there are only a handful of manufacturers in the world. So odds are you'll probably just be buying similar, if not the same film, just with different labels and different packaging. And sometimes that packaging can look really cool and that might be worth it for you. But just know that there are very few film manufacturers who are still like making the film themselves. Which is why it's so exciting that we have folks like Harman who are like doing the work and are developing brand new color film. But try as many films as you can and start cheap. Everybody raves about like Portra 400 or Cinestill 800T, but Gold 200 is consistently still one of my favorite stocks, and it's pretty much the cheapest film that you can get. Number 3, make peace with it taking forever. Gone are the days of like 1 hour or even 24-hour film development. Most good film labs are kind of spread all across the country. And once you find a lab that you really like to work with and who does the scans in a way that you really like, you'll end up being okay with it taking a little bit longer. And maybe you'll be lucky enough to live in a city where you can get development pretty quick, or maybe you're bold and brave enough to try and do it on your own. But as for me, my favorite lab is literally on the other side of the country, and so sometimes it takes up to 6 weeks to get my pictures back. But since I like working with that lab, shout out Darkslide Film Labs, I just think that they do the best job. I have gotten used to the fact that it takes time to get my pictures back, and I have to be okay with that. Film photography is not about instant gratification, and that kind of makes it a little bit more special, right? Because it makes you think more about the picture that you're gonna take. I can rattle off, 4,000 pictures during a photo shoot, but when you have to slow down and you only have 36 pictures on a roll, it really makes all of them special. And then when you know that it can take over a month to get the pictures back, it makes you think more about the picture that you're taking. Number 4, remember the ISO of your film doesn't change for the entire roll. Film ISO is printed on the canister, and that is the speed of it. We're used to being able to change our ISO on digital cameras just with every picture, but with film you have to commit to 36 pictures at that ISO. Which means that sometimes you can't be as versatile. You can't go from shooting outdoors in bright sunlight and coming back inside and shooting in a dim area. Again, that can be really fun and can present a really interesting creative problem to solve. But just remember, even if you change the ISO dial on your camera, you're not actually changing the ISO of the film. The film is the same ISO the whole roll. And number 5, film expires. Film is a physical medium that is not vegan and does have animal product in it, and that can degrade. Typically, like when you buy a roll of color film, it's got like 2 years. So one mistake that I made over the last couple of years is buying up a whole bunch of film and then kind of keeping it and then gradually working my way through it. And so I have a couple of rolls of film that are expiring like in a month or 2 that I don't have a project to shoot with yet. Now that can of course be mitigated by keeping your film in a cold, dry area. Like I keep my film in a dry bag in the fridge. But just remember that film expires, so purchase film with intention. So those are 5 things that I would advise to someone who knows about photography and knows how everything works, but hasn't quite jumped into the film world yet. Oh, and actually here's one more thing. Let's say number 6. Film is supposed to be fun. It's not going to be as like technically perfect or crisp as like a Sony A7R5 with a beautiful 24-70 Mark II and that 61 megapixel full frame sensor. There are imperfections in film bodies, there are imperfections in glass, there are imperfections in the film stock itself. Sometimes it's gonna be weird, sometimes it's not gonna look how you thought it should look. And you are going to have a lot of rolls that suck. You're gonna make a lot of mistakes, and that will get expensive, especially with Kodak raising prices yet again. But that's kind of part of the fun, that's kind of part of the process, that's kind of part of the journey of going into film and learning how to reuse this medium that our parents and grandparents just took for granted. So just remember, film is a fundamentally different medium than digital and can be incredibly rewarding. So yeah, go pick up a film camera, go pick up some film and start shooting. We'll see you next time. Be sure you're subscribed here on YouTube, that you're following me on TikTok, you're following me on Instagram. I'm on Blue Sky now and Threads, and I'd love to have you join my Patreon. Anyway, thanks. We'll talk to you later. scooch back a half step. A little bit more even. I'm gonna try and get your, now forward a half, a little forward here, back a little bit. Where is that light coming from? That is super weird. Oh, there we go, there we go.
It's being blocked by a branch on that big tree.
Okay, look up over that way.